What's up, everyone? Welcome to the NBA Daily Podcast, your home for useless news about the NBA. My name's Dawson Shine, and I'm your host. We're going to be kicking it off today with me admitting I was completely wrong. So, 2 nights ago, the Oklahoma City Thunder faced off against the San Antonio Spurs in Game 5. If you remember from the last episode, I said that Russell Westbrook needed to play more controlled and less like a scoring guard and more like a point guard in order to win a game against the Spurs in San Antonio. Well, he didn't listen to my advice, and I'm kind of glad he didn't because he was a beast. 12 for 27 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, 35 points, 9 assists, 11 rebounds, and the Thunder won 95-91 in San Antonio on a 13-point comeback. They were down by up to 13 points in the third quarter. They came all the way back in the fourth quarter to get the lead and then keep the lead. It was an incredible effort from Russell Westbrook, including the game-sealing three-point play, up only 1 point with about 14 seconds left. He got the ball in the out-of-bounds. Kawhi Leonard went to foul him. They didn't call the foul, which was probably the ref's mistake, to be honest. Russell Westbrook went right to the basket, put it right up and in, and got fouled and made the free throw to put the Thunder up 4 and clinch the game. Incredible effort from him, proving everyone wrong. It looked like in the first half, like he was trying to play like a point guard and not really take too many shots, try and do what everyone said he should do. But, man, when it mattered, he went out there and he did what Russell Westbrook normally does. He dominated. Holy crap. 35 points is incredible. The only real knock on his game was 8 turnovers, but who cares? They won. Also, Kevin Durant had a pretty good game. Poor shooting, 8 for 21. But he had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Steven Adams again had a double-double with 12 points and 11 rebounds. And Enes Kanter had 3 blocks, which surprised even himself in the post-game interview. When told that he had 3 blocks, he couldn't believe it. He was so shocked. He had to go grab a box score and check. On the other side, the Spurs struggled all around. Kawhi Leonard went 12 for 21 from the field for 26 points. That was pretty good. But he didn't get a single touch for the last basically 2 minutes of the game, mainly because of Tony Parker, who tried to take over like he used to be able to do and caused 3 24-second violations in the last quarter of the game. That's important because you can't have turnovers in the fourth quarter. Surprisingly enough, though, the Spurs didn't have that many turnovers, only 7 total, with the Thunder having 20. The real key here, rebounding battle, 54-36. The edge for the Thunder. That's huge because that limits offensive rebounding and also controls the pace of the game. If you're getting all the rebounds, then you're getting out, you're running, you're picking up the pace. You got Russell Westbrook leading the break. You know what's going to happen. He's going to go right to the cup and try and score, which he did multiple times. That's because the bigs for San Antonio got dominated. LaMarcus Aldridge, 6 for 21, 28% shooting. Remember when he was unstoppable at the beginning of the series and everyone was already crowning the Spurs the victors of the series? And they were going to be playing the Golden State Warriors in Golden State? That's not going to happen at this rate. 6 for 21 from the field. He had 20 points because of free throws, but he shot 29% after shooting 72 in the first 2 games. He was on fire then, and now all of a sudden he's frozen again. Tim Duncan, 1 for 6. He had 5 points. That's Tim Duncan. We already talked about how bad he'd been doing this series, and he looked even worse. But Danny Green, he was huge. He had 6 for 9 on threes, 20 points in this game. But that all went to waste because the bench gave them nothing. They had a total output of 11 points from their bench. Now this is the Spurs we're talking about, whose bench is highly touted in the league as one of the best. But they couldn't come up big when it mattered, and they had poor shooting all around. Patty Mills was the only bench scorer to have better than 30% shooting. He had 50%, 2 for 4. Boris Dio, 1 for 6. Manu, 1 for 4, and David West, 1 for 4. Unacceptable for the Spurs if they hope to win this series. They need Tony Parker to take a step back and allow Kawhi Leonard to run the offense more and run it through him more. And they need their bigs to step up huge against the combo of Serge Ibaka, Enes Kanter, and Steven Adams, who have been playing out of their mind getting rebounds. And that's pretty big. But more importantly, they're going to need to try and win in Oklahoma in Game 6 when it's a closeout game. We all know the Oklahoma City crowd is raucous. They're going to be going insane the entire game. so it's going to be tough to see how they can win in Oklahoma City. But that game is on tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's going to be a great game. I can't wait, and my prediction is Oklahoma is going to close this series out and go on to the Western Conference Finals to match up against none other than the Golden State Warriors, who gentlemen swept the Portland Trail Blazers last night 125-121 to win their series 4-1. They played really well in this game, but the Portland Trail Blazers played almost better. They were up for most of the first half, up by 5 at halftime. Golden State had a better third quarter and then just closed it out in the fourth for the win, but it was a close fight. Al-Farouq Aminu, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, and Allen Crabbe all played great, especially Allen Crabbe. He was 7 for 9 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and 20 points, holding his team in this game throughout. Also, Damian Lillard, despite poor shooting, 7 of 24 for 30%. He had 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. That's huge because he was distributing the ball very well and finding the open shooters. And then McCollum had a really great game with 27 points and 5 assists. Overall, they were playing at their peak ability, but that peak ability is just not good enough when Stephen Curry is now starting. And obviously, you know what he does. He was 10 for 20 from the field, 29 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. You can't really do much to stop him. More importantly, Klay Thompson, 13 for 17. He missed 4 shots. He had 6 for 9 from 3 and 33 points. This is actually the 7th straight game in the playoffs with 5 or more three-pointers. That's incredible, and I haven't seen a stretch of shooting like that in a long time. Even Stephen Curry doesn't always hit 5 threes. He's been doing it consistently even when Steph Curry was out. So it's huge to watch him grow as a player. And another player that was really growing is Draymond Green, who, despite poor shooting, had 13 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, a block, filled the whole stat sheet up. Great game by him. And obviously the Portland Trail Blazers were just outmatched in this game. Despite playing at their peak ability, they couldn't keep up with the Warriors. And it's not like Steph Curry went off like he did in Game 4, or like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green went off like what happened in Game 3 despite the Warriors losing. It was really just the team was not able to keep up. The Warriors methodically broke down the defense of the Portland Trail Blazers, especially in the second half, hopefully by halftime adjustments by Steve Kerr, and then took over the rest of the game and just held on to it. Steph Curry even hit an amazing step-back 3 from deep to actually clinch the game to put them up 121-116, and it was nasty. You'll probably see highlights all day from it because it was just unstoppable. The move you can't defend better, but he just makes it over you and demoralizes the team. So the Warriors had a gentleman's sweep, 4-1 victory over the Portland Trail Blazers. They're moving on to the Western Conference Finals to face off against the potential opponents Thunder or Spurs, with my pick being the Thunder. That'll be an interesting matchup to say the least because I don't think the Golden State Warriors could match up well against Steven Adams and Enes Kanter, the 2 centers for the Thunder. So it'll be interesting to see who they actually do face and whether or not they match up well with them, because I think they do match up pretty well with the San Antonio Spurs. And now for the final game of last night, the Miami Heat versus the Toronto Raptors in Toronto, Game 5. The Raptors won this game 99-91 to take over a 3-2 series lead, and it was huge. They had to stave off a huge comeback from the Heat, especially in the fourth quarter, because they held control for most of the game. And they looked like they were keeping them at bay every single time Miami threw a punch. And you want to know why? DeMar DeRozan unfroze, and Kyle Lowry played decent. Yeah, he played decent. In the fourth quarter, he was clutch, but he played decent for the whole game. DeMar DeRozan for sure had a really great playoff game, tying his career high, 34 points on 11 of 22 shooting. He finally shot 50%. And Kyle Lowry, 9 of 25 shooting, which isn't too great, but 25 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, including a dagger 3 from 5 feet behind the line to help clinch the game, and then a step back 2 from mid-range to help seal the victory finally at the end of the game. Just incredible effort, including that 5-point run in the fourth quarter in the final minute and a half on his own, taking over the game just like you'd think he would. He's the all-star for this team, and DeMar DeRozan is as well, and they both played really well. The Raptors are actually 4-0 when both players combine to score 20 or more points each. Now that's a pretty incredible stat because it shows that when these two players play well, the Raptors are pretty much unstoppable. However, even if they do win the series, it looks like they won't be that much more unstoppable because they lost another player. DeMarre Carroll went down with a right wrist injury in this game. He was 1 for 7 shooting beforehand, but afterwards he had to leave the game. He only played 26 minutes and didn't return. And then DeMar DeRozan injured his thumb. It looked like he was okay, obviously playing pretty well for the rest of the game, but they've now lost 2 of their best starters besides 2 All-Stars, and that's DeMarre Carroll and Jonas Valanciunas. It's going to be really tough to make up for those losses. On the other side, the Heat didn't fare any better. Luol Deng went down with injury after going 0 for 8. He had to leave the game with a hamstring, well, what seemed like a hamstring injury, and they already lost Hassan Whiteside. So the simple fact is, Cleveland is going to be having a very easy conference finals if they have to face off against either of these teams at such limited strength, because missing 2 key players for both teams is really going to be detrimental to trying to have a competitive Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, the Heat also didn't play well in general. Dwayne Wade had a poor game, 6 for 14 shooting, but he had 20 points, which were huge. He just didn't play very good defense, unfortunately. You'd see him drive down the court, he'd go for the layup, he'd miss it, and he'd lay on the ground and complain to the refs. Goran Dragic also didn't play too well, 13 points on 14 shots, only 2 assists for your point guard. The Heat only had 12 assists total, which really isn't good for a team that thrives on passing it. And then Joe Johnson had really poor shooting for 5 for 13. Overall, they couldn't get too much offense going, and they struggled as usual. The Raptors' defense has been pretty smothering throughout the series. The only problem has been the offense, and in this game, they didn't lack it, thanks to DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. So it'll be really huge to see whether or not they can keep up this hot streak. If they can, they're going to be able to close the series out in Miami Game 6. However, if they go cold again and Miami steals Game 6, it's going to come down to a Game 7, and I don't know if I can put my faith in DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry to actually be clutch, considering how unclutch they've been all playoffs. We'll see, but I believe the Raptors are actually going to be able to win this series in 6 games, and that Kyle Lowry is going to go off for 38 points in the 6th game, which is a pretty bold prediction, to be honest. But that's all for today, folks. Thanks for listening. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, make sure to come back for the next episode, and have a great day.